Alright, let's get this party started.
Right.
My phone's ready here.
You ripped the labels off?
Yeah, fuck that. They ain't getting paid.
Okay.
We should put a big fucking batted duct tape around it.
No, fuck it. Whatever. So,
Cheers, buddy.
cheers, bro. First live episode.
Yeah, first live Wanderers podcast episode. See if anybody's joining us so far. Oh, we got one viewer so far.
I don't know.
I don't know who it is, though.
I wonder if you can check on your phone.
Whatever.
Okay. So, we're a little bit of a different format. We don't have our guest quite yet, so we're just going to do our half first.
Yeah, so we're pretty much just going to dive into a couple of things here. We're going to talk about the guest that we're going to be having a little bit here before he starts. And we're going to be also talking about the secret space program to the stars. That's pretty interesting. The lead singer of Blink-182 is Tom Segura. Is that what his name is? Or
Tom Segura is the comedian. Tom DeLonge.
Tom DeLonge. He's like the spokesperson pretty much for this. You'll hear more about that.
Well, let's just get in, like, who's our guest? Is your friend,
All right. So our guest today is, his name is Alexi Helligar. He's a guy that I met at the Harvest Festival about 2 years ago now. Well, I guess it's been a year. Me and him, we like really clicked, and we were talking about a lot of things about kind of like philosophy, technology, and stuff. And he was kind of in our neighborhood of where we set up our tents. So I've been connecting more with him over the past year, and he's a really good guy. And I thought he'd be a really interesting person to have on the show, just kind of shoot the shit. He's working on a book right now about philosophy, and he might want to talk about that. I don't know. But he also, he has his own business, so he'll probably talk about that a little bit.
What does he do?
He's basically integrating technology into like softwares into companies to make them more efficient. And I don't know exactly everything about it. He's also a graphic designer too, so.
Okay.
So he knows a lot about technology, and he has pretty strong opinions about things like Linux, and he doesn't like the big corporate entities like Apple or Microsoft and stuff, because he believes everything should just be open source. And like he's very, very wise. I really like him. I respect him a lot.
Nice.
And
yeah. I don't know, like philosophy. Like, you went to school for philosophy.
Yeah, he went to university for philosophy. I don't know what else.
I know a couple people who've done that. I don't know. I'm kind of curious as to what you can do with that.
Mm-hmm. I think more so it'd be better just for a personal use. Like, I'm sure there's things you could do with it, especially.
But do you really want to spend $7,000 a year for something that you have no practical use for? I guess
if I have the money,
we'll get into it. Yeah. Or if you're 60 years old and you can go to school for free. Because you can... Well, I don't know. In Ontario, seniors can join in on classes, but I'm not sure if they can get the degree. I know they can audit classes for free. So...
Well, anybody can go and audit a class for free. They just don't get marked on it or anything. You can literally go sit in on a lecture.
I don't think you can't.
I heard
you have to have like permission.
Maybe I don't know. I thought I heard that.
Like I think you can like
you could fucking sneak in. Nobody would say anything.
Nobody would notice. Exactly. Yeah, I know.
But
because unless you get into like your more graduate classes where there's only like 6 to 10 people in each class, but your survey courses which have like 300 kids, like nobody's gonna fucking know.
Right. Yeah, I don't know. I've kind of wanted to go just sit on a lecture. Like, did you know that MIT actually has a lot of their lectures just online for free?
Yeah, there's a lot of them that do that, which is cool. But the problem with that is you can do all the work, but then you get none of the recognition.
Right.
And you still can't do anything with it.
Right, but I mean, if you're more entrepreneurial and you could use that to your benefit, and you don't want to climb a corporate ladder and have these certificates that you need to hand out, like you could learn a lot.
Well, if you can
build your own
if you can
company.
prove yourself practically,
yeah,
then,
that's
but those opportunities are really rare.
mm-hmm.
Really, really rare.
Takes a lot of work.
Yeah.
No, I've been on the fence about school, especially since it might even be like free.
Well, not
like,
free,
not
but
free,
like
but
it's free for. So Ontario passed legislation that students or kids who come from like low income houses.
Is there an echo in there?
Yeah.
That's weird.
What's going on here?
I have no idea.
It's muted, so I don't know what's happening.
Yeah.
Hello?
I'm wondering if it's just my voice is picking up on your mic or something, and it's like getting the.
I don't know. Yeah, that was weird. Anyways.
Maybe those mushrooms are just starting to kick in. I don't know.
Yeah.
I'm just kidding. We're not on mushrooms.
So Ontario has legislation that lets low-income families, their children can go to school for free, essentially. So if their combined household income is less than $50,000, the students can apply for grants that'll cover their entire tuition, which is awesome.
Mm-hmm.
But the same thing doesn't apply to mature students. So it is. They also did include better and bigger grants for mature students, but I don't think it's 100% free.
Interesting.
But it should be. Like, it's an investment into the future of the economy, right? So
Yeah, they
I
need
don't
to do
understand.
something with this. Like, it's a monopoly. Like, you can't even fucking default or declare bankruptcy on your student loans. Like, you're just fucked into it. And if people get into a situation,
I don't know about that.
you can't declare bankruptcy on any student loan.
On an OSAP loan or a bank loan, because they're different. You can get a student line of credit, or you can get a loan through OSAP. I doubt you can bankrupt or default on a OSAP loan, but I don't know. So this Tom DeLonge was on Joe Rogan, right?
Is that where you saw it too? Or
Yeah, like
Okay.
everyone's talking about it because he's fucking nuts.
basically,
Well, not nuts, but like he's a little weird.
here's where it comes into it. Like, I grew up with that stuff because my dad's always believed in UFOs and stuff like that. Stuff that he's actually seen in his life that he can't explain with massive groups of people. Like, I remember he was telling me one time he was on a job site, and him and like 20 other guys, they were working on a site, and then this big triangular shaped black object was just floating through the sky very slowly, and they were all just staring at this thing, and he couldn't explain it, and nobody could explain it, and nobody heard anything else about it, and just other things like that, that I just know he's experienced. Tom DeLonge, he pretty much was introduced to that stuff at a very early age too, and he kind of obsessed with it to the point where he's now affiliated with this group called To the Stars.
Well, I think he started it, didn't he?
He didn't start it. They reached out to him because these people that are in the group, like the ones that are actually running the organization, they're actually very high level people, which is
Yeah.
the fucked up part, and why Joe Rogan was even talking about it on the show, because it's not like he's just randomly, he started this company and now he's declaring all this stuff. He's the spokesperson about this because he knew about a bunch of stuff, and they're like, you shouldn't know about this stuff, but he did, and then he kind of explains it more, like, a lot better on
I haven't
Joe
looked
Rogan.
into it as much as
It's fucked
maybe
up.
you, but
Like, I looked at, like, just to understand what was happening and to see if it was legit, and I checked out their website, and they've already raised almost $2 million.
But that
And
I
it's
don't
fucked
agree
up.
with that because you're preying on people's prejudice. Like you're preying on people who don't know any better.
Mm-hmm.
So these really gullible people who may be inclined to believe stuff like that are just gonna donate because they don't know any better. And I don't agree with that at all because there is a definitive answer. There always is.
Mm-hmm.
The question isn't that if they exist or not. It's if we know they exist, right?
Well, that's where it gets into it. And it's like there's been a suppression, and they're actually coming out with documents now, and you can actually go to government websites and look at declassified things, and they have a lot of pictures and a lot of things that are, you look at it and you could be like, okay, it could be some other agenda.
Another thing is,
but
like so this is all based around believing in UFOs and aliens and stuff like that, right?
well, it's more so in believing that he kind of mentioned it too, that we've had access to technologies for a long time, and he briefly kind of talked, like, I don't know if I believe this, but he was saying how at Roswell there was something that happened. Obviously people know about Roswell and the conspiracy with aliens and all that stuff, and they said it was a weather balloon, but apparently both sides of that story were created from the same faction to kind of
cause confusion
and lead away from the fact that it was actually the Germans.
a military test or something.
It was a military German test that he was stating that it was. And then, like, you can actually, this is mainstream knowledge. Like, a lot of people are starting to pick up on this. If you look up Project Bell, that the Nazis were actually fucking with flying saucers, and it didn't go anywhere because they couldn't control them. And
it's not a practical way of flying.
The way they had it, but they're saying, like, because they found that at Roswell and all, like, there's other factions that are working on these kind of technologies, but like even that kind of segues into like the technologies that they're actually coming out with now. Like Elon Musk just released his like, I'm not saying he's an alien obviously,
no,
I'm just saying, like, technology is getting to a point now where we can literally switch the progression of humanity. Like, we could literally have
that's all technology has ever done.
Well, technology is just the act of revealing. That's what it is. Like, an element that was in one state, just like the statue of David. When Michelangelo was asked, how did you create David? He said, I didn't create it. I just chipped away all the pieces that weren't Michael, or weren't the statue of David. So it's like, that's all technology is it just chips away and uses the elements that are already there to reveal, like, other things.
Yeah. You could make metaphors like that for everything.
Yeah.
But basically, technology is just here to help us.
All right. It doesn't always help us.
No, it doesn't. But that's the basis on which it was created. Like,
right.
People are always striving to create technology to further assist them.
Right.
And generally, that's what it does. Assist them in any way possible. It could be assisting in detrimental ways, like creating the nuclear bomb and stuff like that.
Exactly.
But like I was saying, there's always going to be there is a definitive answer to every single question that has ever been asked. The confusion is not that there's a definitive answer, right, to everything.
Mm-hmm.
It's just finding the answer is the problem. So most questions that we ask, we can use science to find answers. There's always going to be questions that we'll never know.
Oh, yeah.
That there is an answer for, but we just can never know it. And I think that alien life is that question. I think it's something that we will never have the means to know definitively. Because
I don't believe that, because we're starting to learn a lot more about mushrooms and mycelium and stuff. And if you were to look at, if we were to look for what is alien on Earth, we would look at what's the most genetically structured to be not.
I'm not
related
saying.
To like,
I'm not
you're
saying.
talking about
I'm saying
intelligent alien life.
intelligent alien life that originated outside of our solar system.
Right.
That's what I'm saying. Or outside of our Earth, even on other planets within our solar system.
Mm-hmm.
My personal belief is that, yes, there probably is life somewhere else. But we will never contact them. The distances are just too vast. It's
when you start looking at, it's not necessarily about distance, it's about how you can cut, like, they've been talking about wormholes and stuff like that for a long time.
but that's impractical.
To what we know right now. But, like...
But that's so easy to say.
Yeah. So is your argument.
No.
It's easy to say, but you're looking at the scope of a certain time. Like, who knows if it takes 1 million years? Doesn't mean, like, if
it's a possibility. Like, let's say our nearest star to the solar system actually does have an Earth-like planet. So even if that planet supported life, we could get there. Like, it's a possibility that we could go there. It just would take a fucking long time. Thousands of years of colonizing on a ship. There's nothing at this point in time where we can just fucking warp there.
I'm staying optimistic. I think we can do it.
It's really cool to think about, but realistically, and we're squishy. We're not very, like, when outside of Earth, we're really susceptible.
Oh yeah.
There's a lot that can go wrong.
I think they're talking about the way we look at it, we want to take our physical bodies to another place, but because they're starting to realize stuff with, like, particle entanglement and stuff like that, they're thinking we could do it virtually, where we can travel to different stars and kind of, like, make a replica of our light.
So particle your quantum entanglement doesn't. It's like a base.
I can't explain it because I don't know anything about that shit.
So
just what I was hearing.
do know about entanglement.
Right.
That's where two particles across a seemingly infinite distance seem to be connected. Mm-hmm. They're only connected in the way that one cannot be in the same state as the other. There's no possible way of communicating data across those 2 points.
Well, when you affect one of those particles, the other one immediately has the same effect. That's what they're saying.
It's not like that. It's not like it's innate. It's not something that can be manipulated. It's not something that you can utilize to process data. It just doesn't exist like that. Data can only move at the speed of light, right? I know it's hard to understand.
No, I get, like, even when you get up to the frame of, traveling at the speed of light, time ends up bending to the point where when you get to that point, everybody that you know would already be dead. Like, because when you're moving at that rate, your biological
and there's no way saying that there's nothing saying that we would survive moving that fast.
I don't think we could.
Yeah. We can't survive
unless
moving
we can
past, like, Mach, what was it? The highest is, like, Mach 20 or something. And the guy was, like, fucked up and, like, blind and shit. Mm-hmm. So there's no fucking way.
Well, that's where you get into all, like, this transhumanism and stuff like that, and integrating human biology in with machines. And essentially what you even have physicists talking about is, like, downloading our consciousness into mechanical things. And then if we get to a stage in our process, like, where we can actually do that, that's when I think we can get into those different realms of possibilities. You know what I mean? It's like, because we are squishy and we're susceptible to all that. Like, if we created an artificial intelligence, or even download our own consciousness into, like, a cyborg or something, like,
it's really cool to think about.
It's cool to think about, but practically, I know what you mean. Like, it's
hard to predict where technology goes, because, I mean,
well, it's just like that fucking video that's going around right now. People are thinking it's actually real, but it's actually from a TV show or something, or a movie, where it's like these splatter bots or slaughter bots, where it shows the guy. It's pretty much these little mini drones that have, like, little packets of explosives on it, and then they have technologies that our phones even have now, which is like facial recognition,
I
all
saw
that
that.
shit.
Where did I see that?
It was on Facebook. It's just one of those shared videos, but people were like sharing it, thinking like this is what's
Yeah, but
up.
I know I saw that.
You saw it on the show.
Yeah, I can't remember what it was.
But yeah, basically,
Show me a picture of it.
you go through. Well, you put all these bots into like a big plane, and you could potentially dump a swarm of these little drones over a city, and instead of blasting the whole radius and making the whole area like uninhabitable by dropping a nuclear bomb, you can like literally send in a swarm and then kill all these bad guys, like, or whatever the target is, like individually, and it just flies up, bang, they're dead.
Yeah.
It's just fucking crazy. I'll try to find it, but
Oh well. Anyways, this all routed from Tom DeLonge on Joe Rogan.
yeah.
So I don't know. Like
I can't remember
don't-
which episode that is, but if you want to check
Personally,
it out,
I don't believe. I believe in aliens. I believe aliens exist, but I just believe that they're so insanely far away that they'll never contact us. Like, we won't be able to contact them. Not anytime within our current technology, anyways.
so you don't.
That's what
you
I'm
don't
saying.
think-
I'm not saying that one day it might not be possible. I'm saying it is absolutely impossible right now.
Do you think that they could exist interdimensionally?
What do you mean? Like humans?
Well, just,
I don't think so. I think we exist on this. Even if that is real, that's a real thing.
Well, I
I'm
think
not
even our
saying it
thoughts
is or not.
and our like mind kind of exist. Like we can't.
But you're completely biased because you are alive, right? And the thing is, stuff like this is super cool to think about, and people want to believe it because it's so cool. But the fact of the matter is, like, we're boring. We just exist. I think that's what we're just here, and we're just trying to figure things out. There's nothing. I don't think that there's like existing on multi dimensions and stuff like that.
3,000 precision strikes.
This is
last year.
basically what it was.
We're super proud of it.
Oh, a drone.
It allows you to separate the bad guys from the good. It's a big deal.
Yeah, I don't know.
We have something much bigger.
That's from a movie.
Yeah,
Okay.
I'm pretty sure it's like a TV show or a movie or something.
Kids probably have one of these, right?
Yeah, right. I'm not interested.
Not quite. Hell of a
All
pilot?
right.
No.
Let's
So it's
move
like a
on.
little mini drone that
Yeah.
has an explosive on it that could like literally target somebody and blow their brains out.
Yeah, that's a possibility for sure. And I'm sure I can almost guarantee you that they've worked on stuff like that.
Definitely.
But no, I don't think that we can exist interdimensionally, even if there is other dimensions. I think we exist here, and we just make our own existence. So,
Well, it's like, I don't know, the concept of just thought and the mind and ideas and stuff like that. Like, we can't 3D map those. It's like it's on a whole different level itself. Like, yeah, it's
but the thing is, like, we've been humans for 100,000 years, and over 100,000 years, we haven't ascended. Like, we haven't, like, this consciousness hasn't. There's
yeah, but we've come from something else, so it doesn't mean we can't go somewhere else.
no, I know.
You know?
I'm not saying that we evolve physically for sure, 100%. Yes, we do. But I don't think that it's really cool to think sci-fi stuff is real and can be real. But realistically, I don't think so.
Yeah, I don't know. Can't really have the answer until we kind of go on our own journeys and actually try to find this stuff out for ourselves. You know?
Right.
Like, I don't know, even things like meditation where you get yourself into an altered state of consciousness and stuff like that. Even stuff like DMT.
But that's still just your
Like-
brain. That's still something physical doing that.
It is, and it, like
And
the way
you're completely biased to it because you're in it. Like, it is you. That's what it is.
but when you
It
ask
feels
1,000 people who've done DMT and they tell you the same thing, about the experiences that they have, where they see.
I think that's influenced. I don't think that's true, and I know where you're gonna go with this. You're gonna say that people haven't been influenced by their experiences on DMT, but the type of person that takes DMT is the type of person that watches the movies and that watches the TV shows and stuff.
No.
Don't shake your head.
That's actually not true, because there's lots of people who have heard about it and haven't looked into it that much.
But I don't believe. I know what you're gonna say. You're gonna say that people
I guarantee
have the same experience.
If you go in and you do DMT and you haven't watched any of that shit,
But I have, though. That's the thing.
I'm just saying, you're still gonna have the same experience as like.
You're not gonna see the same things. People and memories are faded. Your memories are all like really influenced by even 10, 20 years down the road. So you can create a memory that never happened just based on the way that you live your life. So the experiences that you keep having keep adding on to memories, and it kind of supplements them into something that didn't even happen. And you'll go the rest of your life thinking that happened, even though it didn't. And that's where you get all this DMT stuff where they're saying, oh, I experienced the same things. Because every time that's just become a thing. That's just become knowledge that DMT shares common experience. So people are just creating that. And they keep propagating it because that's just what we do. That's how our brains work.
Well,
so even if it doesn't,
for thousands of years, there's been shamans, there's been like cultures that like literally base their beliefs and their knowledge on what they get from these trips, and these shamans can navigate through these states of mind.
The thing is,
and what
the
happens,
types of cultures that had shamans weren't the types of cultures that wrote things down. It's a complete oral history with those.
I don't believe that, because a lot of the stuff that they're starting to realize with like even Christianity and stuff like that, like there's been suppressed things where they actually had, there's a drink that they used to have that actually Jesus was reported to give his disciples, and they believed that it actually had mushrooms or something in it.
Yeah, maybe.
But
these
there's no cultures have these geometric patterns that can relate back to what they call sacred geometry, like the flower,
but the thing is,
all that shit.
Like the types of cultures that had shamans, like the Swami and the Celtics and like the ancient Aztecs and stuff like that, they didn't write stuff down. Their stories were passed down through oral culture, and by passing down through oral culture is the same idea as I was saying with the memory. It just things get added on, and as you go, and you lose sight on what's actually true completely. It's like it's the telephone game. So you have shamans, for sure they existed, but I don't think they had this all sight that everyone thinks that they had. I think they were just people who were looking for explanations and were using drugs to do it, for sure, or life experiences. And I think along the line, it's just been romanticized to the point where people want it to be something that it's not.
Yeah, but a lot of the times the shamans were the ones that these cultures.
But where you're saying this as if you know it?
Because I've looked into some of it.
But no one knows it. It's a disputed topic in history. Mm-hmm. I've been in these classes. I've talked to the people who research this. Mm-hmm. It's disputed because there is no written culture.
True.
So there's no definitive answer. And people just reel, and then they add stuff that they want. Mm-hmm. And then, depending on who you talk to, it gets added as fact. And then as soon as that gets propagated, it loses integrity.
Well, it's just like the whole secret shit. It's like, it gets to the point where the message gets so misconstrued, and then it's just like, yeah, Billy, if you sit on the couch and masturbate all day and wish for $1 million, you can have $1 million. It's like, that's not how it fucking works. Like, you work.
Well, you look at
and
the story of King Arthur. So King Arthur started as just a king who was searching for the
Holy Grail.
The Holy Grail. But now we have King Arthur with Merlin and the Knights of the Round Table and Excalibur. It's because, like, maybe 500 years ago, someone was telling the story of King Arthur, and they're like, oh, this is what happens. And then that guy's like, it'd be fucking cool if he had a fucking magician with him. And he's like, oh, the next time I tell it, I'll just fucking add him in. And that's how it happens. And now we have this huge, huge Arthurian legend with all the Knights of the Round Table, with Lancelot, Merlin, fucking Excalibur. Same thing happened with, like, Troy, the story of Troy. That the same exact thing happened. That was an oral story, like, that was told for hundreds of years, and it gets added on. That's the problem with not writing things down. And you have entire cultures that are lost because of that.
Yeah, it's unfortunate. That's
Like
why I hope we actually get into time travel and like actually
Wow.
we can go back and see it for ourselves. And that's kind of funny too, because that's part of what they're trying to do with this whole Tom DeLonge to the Stars Academy is they want to start fucking around, because he even talks about it. He's like, that's where I was like, okay, come on, because he started talking about like you can pretty much create this bubble around you where everything else around you is in that time frame, and then you're pretty much in like this bubble. I don't know.
There's nothing empirical about it.
Yeah,
like it's
just the way he was
theoretical. There's a bunch of theories for time travel.
I just hope, like, I want to stay optimistic and hope we
It'd
can
be
actually
fucking
do it.
cool. That's the thing. You want it to be true.
Well, it kind of gets cool too, because if we get to a point in society where it's like, you know, we are able to trap ourselves in these like energy bubbles, and they would kind of manifest in like these glowing orbs in that time, like maybe that's what we're seeing when we see alien, like these orange orbs or whatever people declare that they're seeing. It's just like us from another time. It's like that'd be fucking. I'd be pretty impressed.
Yeah. I'm just gonna go to the live feed here, see what's going on.
All right.
There's some comments. Yeah, that's what I'm.
Andrew Spink and on.
What did he say?
Oh wait, which one's at the? Okay, so the bottom one. Now Troy is known for condoms. You guys should do more debates in your podcast. I like the
Contrast and opinions. Okay.
All right, thanks for the input, Cosmo and Andrew. That was pretty funny with the Troy.
And the Trojan.
The Trojan.
Yeah.
And
anyways, let's move off of that. Last night, I went and saw the movie Justice League.
I did not.
You probably should have came.
Yeah. Well, I didn't see all of them, like the precursors.
Yeah, but you saw like Wonder Woman.
Is that all you need to know? It was just Wonder Woman?
No, you probably should see like.
No, like that's what I mean. I want
least Batman.
I want to at least go. Yeah, that's. I still haven't seen that. Fuck.
Yeah.
Like that's why I didn't want to go, is because I just didn't have the complete backstory of everything, and it all kind of coalesces into that, right? So it's like. I'm not saying I won't see it. It's just I've had other things on my plate that I'm just trying to get organized and on the go, and.
Yeah. Anyways, it was good.
Good.
Yeah, I liked it.
Would you go see it again?
I don't know. I don't think I'd go see it again.
Was it as good as Wonder Woman?
No.
Wonder Woman was so good.
No, it was not as good.
What did you guys think of Wonder Woman?
Yeah.
That's why I want to get it closer, because we had to fucking.
Well, I have it here. Look.
Oh, nice.
Yeah. Oh, Malcolm Young, co-founder of AC/DC, died. Yeah.
Oh man.
Well, he was old. Like,
rest in peace.
That's gonna happen. Like Tom Petty passed and Gord Downey passed. That's gonna happen. Like, it's gonna be like a wave, right?
Oh yeah, especially because they all kind of came from the time frame. Like,
yeah.
And
so it's just gonna be a big wave. What sucks. Yeah.
But then fucking Keith Richards is just gonna go on and on.
Live forever.
Yeah.
He's gonna live to like 130.
He's just gonna fall into the fountain of youth.
Still
and he's gonna be like, let's
rocking it.
do it all again, baby.
Yeah. No, it sucks, but
Do you think? I don't know. It's kind of random. I just thought of this. Do you think we could ever get to a point where we eradicate aging?
yeah,
I think
that's
so,
happening.
Too. Yeah.
Like there's a DNA tool called CRISPR that it's responsible for replicating DNA, and we've learned how to manipulate it. So
They've also found out like about telomeres, which are the things on the end of DNA strands, and the shorter they are, the more like you're aged. But the longer they are, we're getting to a point where we can kind of sustain the length of them and kind of reverse the shortening of it.
Yeah, they've actually played a movie on DNA.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, they recorded and played a movie on a strand of DNA using CRISPR.
There's so much crazy shit about to happen.
It's cool.
Like that's why I like thinking about this kind of stuff, because it's like you could be pessimistic about it and be like it'll never happen, but like it's not fun to be like that. Like I like to be open to that kind of stuff. Like I don't want to be gullible and stuff. And in the past, I've been really gullible.
There is a limit. Like it is really cool, and science is
find that balance, right?
Yeah, science is great. Like science, finding new ways and new discoveries is awesome, but you have to be realistic about it sometimes. And all I'm saying is don't let science fiction construe your thoughts.
Right.
Just do it naturally. Find your natural progression and stuff like that. Like trying to end aging and stuff like that.
Mm-hmm.
There's actually like ways that we can manipulate DNA to like get rid of bad traits in an unborn child.
Yeah, they're getting right into the genome, and they can actually like, if you want to have your kid to have blue eyes or whatever, they can actually
they can change it.
Yeah, they can change the. That's fucked up.
It's crazy. That's still like far away.
Oh yeah. Like
they're trying to put make a head transplant.
Yeah, I seen that Russian guy. Mm-hmm. He's just like, cut it off.
What do you think's gonna happen? Like, I think the guy's just gonna, if it's successful, I don't think the guy's gonna live longer than a day. Like, I just don't see it happening. I think maybe someday we could get there. I don't think we're there now, and I definitely don't think we should be trying it on a live person.
All right, I'm going to take a quick break here.
All right.
1 second. Oh, is that from... It's all good. It's not dented, at least.
No.
So I fucking dropped it so hard, though. I was trying to adjust the table, and it like right
this one's dented, isn't it? Yeah.
Well, that one was always dented.
Yeah. Anyways, so we finally got the vote out for the next mascot.
Oh, yeah?
And it's Nicolas Cage.
Nicolas Cage.
Again. Finally.
Help us, Pete. Dude.
Yeah. So Hank had like an extended run.
Yeah.
For like 8 or 9 episodes.
I know.
Oh, well.
I'm pretty excited that they're making new stuff for King of the Hill.
Is that actually happening?
I think so.
It's going to be tough because Tom Petty passed and Brittany Murphy's passed. And so Luann and Lucky won't be there. But what can you do?
Right.
So
yeah,
we still got to do that interview, right?
Yeah, so we're just waiting on our friends still.
Probably end it here for this. We're at 40 minutes already. So.
All right. Well,
this will be the end of the episode. Or wait.
We were going to talk about Tesla very briefly.
We kind of did.
Like for 2 seconds.
We're a little too long right now.
Yeah. Well, I don't even know how long the interview is going to be.
Yeah, I mean, we're not leaving much time for that.
All right.
So.
All right. Well, is there anything you want to throw in quick before we leave?
Oh, you know what? Let's throw the interview at the end of the episode because there's something I want to check into. So. I guess we'll just throw to the interview now.
All right, we're throwing to the interview. I guess this will be Hank's last.
No, Hank's gone.
What do you mean?
He's had too many.
All right, we're throwing to Nicholas. Nicolas Cage, take it away.
Introduce the guest.
All right, our next. Whoa, fuck! What are you talking about? He's not on now.
Yeah, but you gotta say, fuck's sakes, man.
Fuck's sakes. Well, we're leaving it in because it's a train wreck. So.
Yeah. You just say the name and then.
All right, we're throwing to the interview with Alexi Helligar. Take it away, Nick.
All right.
Nicolas Cage.
You turn me on. You're not too tall, you're not too short, you're not too round. You're like a cat. The cat in the hat. Ha ha!
All right, so welcome back. We're doing the interview with our good friend Alexi Helligar here. As you can see, Jason's not here with me at the moment, but he is on the phone with us. We're doing a three-way conference call. How are you, fellas?
I'm fine, thank you.
Good,
Doing good.
Good. All right, so we basically kind of gave a little bit of an introduction for Alexi here. Just kind of, if you wanted to kind of iterate on your background here, Alexi.
Sure. Well, I consider myself to be an artist, a philosopher, and a technologist. And basically, I have an undergraduate degree in philosophy from Florida State University. Since then, I've spent quite a bit of time studying traditional philosophy and also occult sciences like astrology, and also the sciences like the regular sciences, quantum physics, chemistry, and biology.
Right, and what really made you want to get into philosophy in the first place?
Well, I have a religious upbringing, and at one point I came to the conclusion that, a religion as it's being taught is has a lot of problems. So I wanted to kind of explore kind of metaphysical things more rigorously, and that drew me to philosophy.
Right, and I think Jason can kind of relate to that. He had a very religious upbringing, didn't you, Jason?
Yeah, I did. With my father, anyways. I was turned on to science through my grandfather and stuff like that. But yeah, we were Catholic growing up. Went to church and everything, and went to a Catholic school.
Right. So, your grandfather, he taught you about existentialism. Is that correct?
Oh yeah. He kind of every day would come over to our house, and he'd teach me about science and mostly astronomy. And it was only until I started getting older that he started to get into the philosophy of things. And I think he, and it was a big part of my life for sure. And I think he kind of understood that I was a little young at the time to be talking about science and stuff like that. But that's the main reason why I understand it today. Is the conversations that we've had, that me and him had when I was young, and a big reason, probably the biggest reason I have the outlook of life that I have is because of him.
All right. Cool. So, for the technologist part, so your business incorporates technologies to make businesses more efficient. Am I correct in that, Alexi? Or
I'm sorry, can you repeat that?
just with because you're a technologist, I know you're an entrepreneur and you have your business and you run operations with other companies. When you define yourself as a technologist, what is that all kind of incurring?
Okay. So a technologist, what I do is I help companies, use technology more effectively. I help them make better technology decisions. So they basically outsource their technology operations to me, and I manage all the security, all the relationships with other vendors, and all the changes that have to happen in the organization. Also advising the company on how to kind of transform their business using technological tools. So it's a fun job. It's always something to do. There's always something going wrong with a client somewhere, And so it's really gratifying to be able to help them out. So it kind of like makes, it's a very practical work that I do. I have to make things work. So on the one hand, as a philosopher, you can speculate, you can go into blue sky, kind of like way out kind of thinking. But I like the fact of also kind of coming back to earth and actually being practical and earthy and making things work for people, you know, in their day-to-day lives.
Mm-hmm.
So I feel like I'm bridging, you know, two worlds, kind of like the out there kind of spiritual, metaphysical world, but also, you know, bringing it back to earth and having it work in people's lives every day.
Yeah, it's important. You know, you got. I've heard a lot about, you know, kind of finding the middle way, and it kind of relates to a lot of things, right? And it almost kind of relates to moderation is the key. Just you know.
Yeah, you gotta be able to go out there into the unknown and into the unexplored and bring something back that can make people's lives better in their everyday life. So I see as a philosopher, I'm going out there in the unknown, but also as a technologist and an artist, bringing it back to something that people can use or can appreciate in their everyday life.
Right on. So
Right, philosophy doesn't necessarily have to be the unknown, though. I mean, it's one of the oldest disciplines that we have.
Yeah, totally, absolutely. I mean, all the things that we do consider knowledge, in many ways, were inspired and framed by philosophers. However, the growth of that knowledge requires venturing out beyond what is known. And so we find like a lot of philosophers like Plato and even scientific philosophers like Newton and Einstein appreciated the fact that they had to go into the imaginary, into the speculative, into the unknown, basically, in order to frame and find new ways of knowing.
Right.
So,
and like scientists love embracing the unknown. That's kind of their thing, right?
yeah, definitely exploring it. And they have a method for agreeing when the unknown is now a known, right? So the scientific method is their way of saying, hey, this is how we are going to go about making that frame and saying, yeah, this has moved from outside the frame in the unknown inside the frame of what we think is known. And we know that's a very tricky process, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's, you know, coming from my background, you know, just diving into all those conspiracy theories and then, you know, kind of becoming a sick fist and, you know, supporting all these people because they just support all these people. Like I've kind of been in a transition, like not only just, you know, getting out of that, but just kind of building my mind back up to actually be able to process things and be like, no, like this is true. And, you know, I can
You
better.
just have to be able to dissect, dissect the truth from the non-truth. It's hard, especially when you have such a bias towards things that you want to be true.
Oh, no.
Like Lexi was just saying, scientists use the scientific method and stuff like that and try and question everything.
Mm-hmm.
And that's definitely useful for sure.
Yeah.
So that's something that you gotta figure it out yourself.
Mm-hmm.
Because it's hard for someone like me, like a skeptic, to convince like a conspiracy theory fanatic about the scientific method, about empirical evidence, because they just, I don't know, it's hard to bridge that gap. And I think getting into the philosophy of things and even further than that, getting into the psychology of things, that's what's going to help bridge that gap.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I have, like, even just listening to certain podcasts, there's a podcast that's called Philosophize This, and just hearing kind of some of the concepts that they talk about and just, you know, the allegory of Plato's cave and just things like that. And it's really opened my mind a lot, and it's not necessarily like I'm going totally out of this world with it, and you know what I mean? But it's definitely grounded me a lot more and into, you know, when you fall into that kind of like conspiracy mode, it's just like you end up losing a lot of hope and optimism, because it's
Yeah.
just like there's
Yeah.
so much.
I just question everything. That's the way I see things.
Yeah,
I don't believe anything until I kind of taken my look at it. And the way I look at things is I'll look at both sides. I'll try and disprove myself. Like if I think something's, like if I believe in something, I want to try and disprove myself. And if I can't, that really just solidifies it. So
Yeah, that's part of the scientific method, is that in order for something to be considered a scientific truth, you have to be falsifiable. So you have to find, there has to be some way that you can think of where if you have any proposition, how can I prove this proposition false? And if you can, and if it's not falsifiable, then you can't really claim that it's something that you would say is within the realm of science, right? So a lot of times with like for instance, there's this thing with flat Earth, right? And when you talk to people who believe in the flat Earth, everything you say, they say, well, there's a way to explain, how that's being, how you're being tricked in that, right? So, I think the preponderance of evidence is that the Earth is a sphere. But I would say to a flat Earth person, okay, is there anything that you can do, that you can demonstrate, that would prove that the Earth is not flat?
He was
and
talking
if they
about
can't
me.
come back and I'm not talking about you necessarily, but it's actually something that comes up a lot. The conspiracy theories.
Oh, have you been talking to more people about it, or? Yeah,
it comes up a lot, and it's something that has to be addressed a lot within certain circles. So, but the issue is that with a lot of people who believe in conspiracy theories, they never really take the time to think, okay, is there a way that I can show that my theory is not true? Because then every explanation you give, they say, oh, well, I can talk, you're being fooled in that way, you're being fooled in that way. And I'm saying, well, okay, is there any way that you yourself can provide or perform any kind of experiment or any kind of analysis that would falsify your conspiracy? And when they come back and they say, no, there's nothing that I can do, I'm like, well, it's not really something that we can work with within the frame of knowledge. It's not something that, if it's not falsifiable, then it's not something that we can work with in the understanding of, of shared knowledge, right? So part of the scientific method is to make sure that whatever it is that we're putting forward as a theory can be falsifiable, can be in fact proven to be false. Because then it means that if it is indeed shown to be false, then we know we have to go back to the drawing board and revise our understanding of the phenomenon.
Right.
And then the other thing is about conspiracy theories is that a lot of times they open up like a general kind of undisciplined skepticism, a skepticism without end, a skepticism without purpose. And so let's say, for instance, 9/11 was a hoax, right? The government planted the bombs and blew up the buildings intentionally, right? And they say, well, if that is true, let's say it is true, let's assume it's true, what does it mean for us as a citizen? It says, well, it means we should be suspicious of our government, right?
Right.
But I think that is true regardless. We should always be suspect of our government. We should always question our government, right? It means we should be suspect of the media. But that is always the case. You should never take anything you're reading or absorbing from the media to be the absolute truth. You always have to engage your mind in the seeking of what it is that's true.
Then there's also the fact that the media used to be used as a tool, kind of as a watchdog to that end. Like it used to be the one who controlled the government. It used to be kind of like, the fourth estate, right? So and we've lost that. We've definitely lost that. Government has taken control of that. So,
well, I don't know if we've lost it. I think that what we've actually lost is,
or it's been kind of oversaturated.
It's been corrupted.
It's
In a sense, it's been corrupted by moneyed interests.
well,
In other
it's
words,
not,
and it's not the
yeah,
government, right? In
yeah,
other words, we live in a capitalism which allows for private accumulation of wealth and property, right? But the problem is that our capitalism is unrestrained. So we allow private property and wealth accumulation to just accumulate to individuals without end. And what that does is it gives those individuals, those private individuals, the ability to corrupt all the institutions. They can basically buy them off. They can buy off the press, and then they can buy off government. So that is the main problem, is that not that we no longer have a free press, we have a free press, but the problem is that the press is corrupted by money, and then it loses its ability to be a proper counterbalance for informing the public on how they should structure and organize their government and their society.
right. It's more like
And
just about AdSense and just who can get to the story first and not who can get to the truth, right? It's just
exactly. So you can entertain people, like Fox claims to be in the entertainment business, right?
right.
You can entertain people with all kinds of nonsense, but at some point, people begin to lose track of what's entertainment and what is the news, right?
Yeah.
So you see a lot of the most famous news people today are actually comedians.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
So it's up. So and then people lose track of what's fact and what's entertainment, what's fiction, what's fake and what's real. But that's a problem, I think, in the people, in that we want to be entertained rather than we want to be informed.
Mm-hmm.
So what we have happen a lot of times is to say, oh, we're not going to elect this person. Like, for instance, this was a complaint about Al Gore. Because he's boring, we're going to elect somebody that we want to have a beer with. We want to elect somebody that's interesting and entertaining. We keep these boring people. But the fact of the matter is, the boring people are the ones that make your society actually work. You want electricity and fire and police and all the things that make your life work to be reliable and boring. But then we have this kind of need for entertainment, and then the truth gets stretched. Then what people believe is true gets corrupted, and then you have a whole lot of problems.
Right. And then the issues that we actually need to focus on kind of get looked over, and then it's just like this repetitive cycle. That's why we need more outlets that aren't so financially
maybe not the fact that they're not
incentivized.
being addressed, but the fact that these issues are being addressed incorrectly.
Exactly. I
Yeah.
agree. That's exactly what's happening. And the thing about conspiracy theories is that they're exciting, they're interesting, they're not boring.
Right.
And we have to be really careful about our need for entertainment and for excitement and be very critical when our news becomes our entertainment,
Right.
or when our government becomes our entertainment.
Right.
Well, yeah, just look at what's happening now with the political scene in the United States. It's just
Well, a TV show,
yeah.
It is
a fake TV show executive is president because of exactly this. We want excitement. It's exciting. It's definitely not boring what's going on in the United States right now, but it's terrible.
Here's the thing I just thought
And
of,
it's
though.
dangerous.
It's because we all know entertainment and the industry influences our culture and stuff. Like right now, as it stands, it is becoming more of an entertainment outlet. But if it were to flip the switch and somebody got into power, and there is more attention now than there has been in the past, like if we can hope we can vote in somebody that can actually bring about some better changes and not just be, a pig, what I mean? Entertainment influences culture and behaviors, and it's, it can go good, but right now, as it stands, I don't agree with what's going on.
And the thing is, they're even with this whole not electing someone different or electing someone exciting, there are still effective leaders that can be exciting.
Right.
As long as they have a level head on their shoulders and they approach things properly, they can surround themselves with the boring people and they can take the advice. But that's just something that Trump doesn't do.
Yeah.
He is a tyrant, and he's taking the reins of the country because he can. And he's just,
Well, I wouldn't say Trump is a tyrant yet. He hasn't he's an authoritarian for sure. But the American system, as it's happened so far, has not allowed him to become a tyrant. I would say that the things about the American system, like the judiciary, the Congress, they are still operational. In other words, Trump has not shut down the judiciary or the Congress.
He tried to take the health care down through Congress, couldn't do it, so he signed an executive order. What the hell is that?
But the executive order is within his constitutional right.
Right? It is, in other words, he's abusing it.
Well, I don't know if he's abusing it either. I mean, he's using it. I mean, he's using it to a degree that I don't think has crossed a line of constitutionality yet. I mean, he signed the executive order to block certain countries or citizens of certain countries from immigrating, typically Muslims. And then that was something that the courts, suspended and reviewed, and to some degree has reinstated. So that's not a tyrant, not yet. I can't say honestly, I don't like Trump, and I think he's very, very bad, and I think that he puts American democracy at risk, but he hasn't crossed the line to outright tyranny yet. The problem with Trump is not that he's a tyrant, it's that his constituents, his base, is extremely corrupt. So the Republican right wing, is what keeps him in power, and it's an extremely corrupt wing of the Republican Party, and it's extremely destructive, and his agenda is very dark. And I think that is the problem. Not Trump per se. He's a symptom of a large portion of the American voting population that's extremely lost.
Yeah.
And until that population decides that they've had enough of him, I think we're going to continue to see more of him. But it's that he's not a tyrant. They are the ones that are right now propping him up and empowering him. And until they say enough, we're going to continue to see more of the same, basically.
Right.
Right. Yeah.
Well, it's definitely trending towards something definitely authoritarian. But
right. He would have to take control of the military, which he hasn't done yet. He would have to take control of the police. Right. And when we see people like Nancy Pelosi and Hillary Clinton and Barack Obama being imprisoned or silenced, I think then we can start to say, okay, he's now acting like a tyrant. But he hasn't done that yet. When he starts killing his political prisoners or his political opponents or silencing them or killing bad people in the press he doesn't like. Right now, he's a king of insults, but he's not an actual real practical tyrant yet.
Out of
he could be
anyone in recent memory, he's definitely the one who has the biggest. Like he's terrifying me. Like he could. This is a definite possibility.
Yes, he's definitely terrifying. He's definitely terrifying. But I don't think we don't want to ring. We want to ring the right alarm bells, right? And so I think that when people said Barack Obama was a tyrant, they were wrong. They should not have said that about him because Obama was not in any way, shape, or form a tyrant. And neither is Donald Trump yet. But he has the tendency or the personality or the inclination, I think, to be tyrannical. But right now, he hasn't exhibited the actual behaviors. And so,
this is all kind of...
I mean, what we're waiting for right now is for basically a Congress that will be a legitimate opposition to what I see an out-of-control executive branch.
This is all making me think of something Jordan Peterson said about how some of the social justice warriors that kind of are going against him, calling him Hitler and stuff like that. It's, you know,
Exactly.
we use these words
Yeah.
like tyrant or you're a Hitler and stuff like that, and it takes it out of context of what that actually means. And I think people are very desensitized to what actually happened, not only with Hitler, but even just, you know, with Stalin and stuff like that. That's not even talked about. Like, that is a very
Exactly.
big possibility
Exactly.
that, you know, genocide happens and people
Right.
just do their job. And you know what I mean?
Right.
It's when we start labeling things as you're a Hitler or you're a tyrant, we're not actually taking those words into context. So we have to really
And-
step back and understand
Yeah.
those things. Like,
And we're actually diminishing the threat. I mean, we're diminishing actual real threats that are much bigger than, say, Jordan Peterson or Donald Trump. It's really it's not a proportional. It's not helpful because it actually makes, when the real threat occur, we're now desensitized to it because we're calling everybody Hitler, and so Jordan Peterson is not Hitler.
no.
And so to call him Hitler is really just, it's a hysterical kind of comment that really diminishes the damage that the real Hitler did.
Yeah.
So to call Donald Trump a tyrant, I think at this point in the game, really diminishes the real damage that real tyrants do to their societies. He's not there yet.
But we have to be
And
careful
also,
and
not
make
only
sure.
does it do that, but it also gives him a level of responsibility that he doesn't deserve. He is a bad guy, I believe, but his constituents, the Republican Party and their voters that empower him, they're the real culprits here. So it's not so much him as the people who are empowering him. Mitch McConnell and Paul Ryan and the Republicans who vote for all kinds of really bad bills, and the voters who keep voting for them. We have a pedophile in Alabama who could be a senator. Who's voting for these people?
Yeah.
Who's empowering these people? The people who are voting for them, they're the ones who we need to look at and say, look, guys, cut it out. Don't send, these perverted, destructive, incompetent people into office just because, you're thumping your Bible and you don't like gay people.
Mm-hmm.
And you want to see women's abortion rights limited. I mean, it's just not right.
Well, they play at people's emotions, right? They take these topics that are very hard to dissect, and then they throw that into these misinformed people's way. Like, maybe everybody doesn't know he's a pedophile, but he'll play on those emotional triggers so that people will be like, oh, well, he supports what I believe in. Meanwhile, totally looking over the fact that, oh, he's, doing that behind the curtains.
The only thing I can hope for is that this situation is kind of like a wake-up call for those people to say, hey, your decisions do damage.
And that's what
you have the potential to change the entire political landscape. So,
and that's what I've been thinking since the beginning of this.
Use that tool a little more responsibly.
Yeah, absolutely.
And that's what we can hope for.
I'm actually running late. I hate to pick up this. I'm having this conversation. It's really good, and I really think it's valuable. But I have to run and meet some friends for dinner, so I'm sorry. I have to.
No, absolutely. I was actually just going to cut it off there to say.
That's all right.
That's perfect. Anyway, it was really great talking to you, Alexi. We'll talk soon, and then
I want to do it again, though. Let's do it again. I would love to be a part of this again.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, for sure, man.
All right.
Okay.
Well, take care. Enjoy your dinner.
I love you guys.
I
love what you guys are doing. Thank you so much for including me.
Yep. Well, thanks for being a part of it. Take care.
Okay. Bye-bye.
Later. All right. That wraps up a good interview with our good friend Alexi. Take it away, Nick.
I'm behind your fucking desk now, me! This is about Joe? Oh, God. Eddie, after all we've been through together, come on, man.
Bullshit.
Jesus Christ, you stupid fucking hothead! Come on, what is this? What the hell is going on here?
I'll show you
Eddie,
a fucking hothead,
Eddie,
man!
put
I'll
the
show
gun
you
down,
a hothead! Asshole!